In just 73 seconds, $47 million in federal investigation funds vanished from public records. Zohran Mamdani didn't flinch when the FBI director walked into his office. He opened a manila folder marked Trump Organization tax records and smiled. The cameras were already rolling. What did Zohran expose that made the most powerful man in America delete his Truth Social account that same night? At exactly 9:47 a.m. on March 15, 2025, FBI Director Christopher Wray walked into New York City Hall carrying what looked like a standard briefing folder. Mamdani was reviewing budget allocations for his affordable housing initiative when his chief of staff whispered something that made the mayor's pen stop moving. "Sir, the FBI is here. They say it's about your tax investigation into Trump properties." Zohran had been expecting this. For months, his administration had been meticulously documenting how Trump Organization buildings in Manhattan were underreporting their property values to avoid millions in city taxes. The evidence was damning. Shell companies, offshore accounts, fake renovation costs. Everything was documented. But Zohran knew Trump wouldn't let this slide quietly. The mayor stood up, straightened his tie, and said something that would be replayed millions of times on social media. "Tell Director Wray I'll see him in conference room A, and tell the press secretary to set up cameras. If the federal government wants to intimidate New York City, they can do it on live television." The FBI director wasn't expecting cameras. He walked into the conference room, expecting a private intimidation session, and found himself facing 3 news cameras, 2 city attorneys, and a mayor who looked absolutely calm. Wray opened his folder and began reading from what appeared to be a prepared script. "Mayor Mamdani, the Federal Bureau of Investigation has received complaints about potential overreach in your administration's investigation of federal tax matters." Zohran didn't let him finish. "Director Wray, before you continue, I want to clarify something for our viewers." He gestured to the cameras. "Are you here because New York City discovered that Trump Organization owes $47 million in unpaid property taxes?" The FBI director's face flushed. "This wasn't going according to plan, Mr. Mayor. This investigation could be seen as politically motivated harassment of a former president." That's when Zohran opened his manila folder. Inside were bank transfer records, property assessments, and something that made Wray's eyes widen: phone call transcripts. "Director Wray, let me read something to our audience. This is a transcript of a phone call made from the White House to the Department of Justice on March 12, 2025. Zohran's voice was steady, clinical. Quote, "That socialist mayor thinks he can come after me with fake tax bills. I want the FBI in his office by Friday. Find something on him. I don't care what it is." End quote. The silence in the room was deafening. Wray's hand trembled slightly as he reached for his water glass. "Mr. Mayor, I'm not sure what you think you have there, but..." Zohran continued reading. Same call 3 minutes later. Quote, "If you can't find dirt on Mamdani, then investigate his housing deals. There's got to be corruption somewhere. Everyone in New York politics is dirty." End quote. The FBI director stood up abruptly. "This meeting is over." But Zohran wasn't finished. "Director Wray, one more thing. This phone call was recorded by the White House communications system. It's an official government record. Would you like me to play the audio?" For 73 seconds, Christopher Wray stood frozen in that conference room. His mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. Behind him, his agents were clearly uncomfortable, shifting their weight and avoiding eye contact with the cameras. The FBI director finally found his voice. "Mr. Mayor, if you're suggesting that the President of the United States..." "I'm not suggesting anything," Zohran interrupted. "I'm stating facts. Donald Trump ordered you to investigate me because my administration discovered his tax evasion. That's not law enforcement. That's political weaponization of federal agencies." The mayor leaned forward slightly. And Director Wray, since we're here, let me share something else with our viewers. He pulled out a second document. This is a financial analysis of Trump Organization's New York properties. According to our investigation, they've underreported property values by an average of 67% over the past 5 years. The numbers were staggering. Building by building, here's what Trump owes New York City taxpayers. Trump Tower, $8.3 million in back taxes. 40 Wall Street, $12.7 million. Trump International Hotel, $9.2 million. Wray was sweating now. This was supposed to be an intimidation visit, but it had turned into a public humiliation. The total comes to $47 million in unpaid property taxes, Zohran continued. Money that should have gone to our schools, our hospitals, our infrastructure. Instead, it went to offshore accounts in Ireland and the Cayman Islands. The FBI director made one last attempt to regain control. Mayor Mamdani, investigating federal tax matters is outside your jurisdiction. Zohran smiled. It wasn't a friendly smile. Property taxes are absolutely within New York City's jurisdiction, Director Wray, but you're right about federal matters. That's why we're forwarding our findings to the IRS, the New York State Attorney General, and the House Financial Services Committee. He paused for effect. Oh, and we're also sending copies to every major news outlet in America. Transparency is important, don't you think? But what happened next would make this confrontation legendary. Zohran reached into his briefcase and pulled out a third folder, this one marked Confidential Pattern Analysis. His voice took on a more serious tone. Director Wray, since you're here representing federal law enforcement, I think you should know about something else we discovered. He opened the folder, slowly, building suspense. Our investigation revealed that this isn't just about Trump Organization. We found a pattern of coordinated tax evasion involving multiple properties across 5 states. The FBI agents behind Wray exchanged glances. This was information they hadn't been briefed on. We've identified $180 million in potential federal tax evasion connected to a network of shell companies operating under Trump Organization umbrella. Zohran's voice was clinical, devastating. Properties in Florida, Nevada, California, Illinois, and New York, all using the same accounting firm, the same offshore structures, the same fraudulent valuation methods. Wray's face had gone pale. What started as a political intimidation mission was now a briefing on federal crimes. Here's the interesting part, Zohran continued, his eyes never leaving the FBI director. When we ran the financial analysis, we discovered that several of these shell companies have been making payments to political action committees. Guess which PACs were receiving the money? The mayor pulled out a spreadsheet. Trump Victory Fund, $2.3 million. Mega Patriots, $1.8 million. America First Action, $3.1 million. All paid with money that should have gone to taxes. The room was absolutely silent. Even the camera operators had stopped moving. So, Director Wray, Zohran said, closing the folder, you came here to investigate me for doing my job. But what you've learned today is that your boss ordered you to protect a criminal enterprise that's been stealing from American taxpayers for years. He stood up, walked around the table, and faced the cameras directly. This is what corruption looks like. America, when the President of the United States uses the FBI to protect his criminal business dealing, when federal agents are sent to intimidate local officials who are trying to recover stolen tax money, Wray was trapped. He couldn't deny the evidence. He couldn't defend the phone call, and he couldn't stop the cameras from broadcasting this humiliation to the world. Director Wray, Zohran said quietly, I have one question for you. When you became FBI director, did you swear an oath to protect the Constitution or to protect Donald Trump? The FBI director opened his mouth, but no words came out. For 73 seconds, the most powerful law enforcement official in America, stood speechless in front of a 39-year-old mayor who had just dismantled his entire mission with nothing but facts and transparency. Within minutes of the FBI leaving City Hall, the video exploded across social media. Mamdani Wray was trending worldwide within an hour. The clip of Zohran reading Trump's phone call transcript was shared 2.3 million times in the first day. But the real social media earthquake came from an unexpected source. At 1:47 p.m., Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez retweeted the video with a simple message: "This is what courage looks like. When local leaders fight federal corruption with facts and transparency." Her retweet alone generated 4.7 million views in 2 hours. Even more devastating was the response from former FBI agents. James Comey posted, "In 30 years of law enforcement, I've never seen such a clear case of political weaponization. Director Wray should have walked out the moment he heard those orders." The post went viral instantly. Cable news networks interrupted their regular programming to broadcast the full confrontation. CNN's Anderson Cooper called it the most important 73 seconds in modern American politics. Fox News, struggling to defend Trump, simply cut to commercial every time the phone call transcript was mentioned. Trump's response was swift and predictable. At 2:14 p.m., he posted on Truth Social, "Corrupt Mayor Mamdani is a liar. Fake news. That phone call never happened." The FBI was investigating real corruption in NYC. But then something unprecedented happened. Within minutes, tech journalists noticed that Truth Social's servers were crashing under the weight of users posting the video of Trump's own recorded voice, saying exactly what he claimed never happened. The platform couldn't handle the contradiction. At 2:47 p.m., exactly 73 seconds after checking the real-time social media response and seeing his own voice being played back to millions of Americans, Trump deleted the post. By 3:14 p.m., his entire Truth Social account was deactivated. His communications team released a statement claiming technical difficulties, but everyone knew the truth. The irony was perfect. The man who built his political career on social media had been destroyed by social media, undone by his own recorded words being broadcast to the world. For the first time in his political career, Donald Trump had been caught so completely, so publicly, that even he couldn't spin his way out. The fallout was immediate and devastating. The House Financial Services Committee announced a formal investigation into the weaponization of the FBI. The New York State Attorney General subpoenaed all Trump Organization property records. The IRS opened a federal criminal investigation into tax evasion. But perhaps most damaging of all, 3 FBI agents who had been in that conference room with Director Wray leaked audio recordings of their internal briefings. The recordings revealed that Trump had been pressuring the Justice Department to investigate his political enemies for months. By March 20th, 5 days after the confrontation, Christopher Wray submitted his resignation. In his resignation letter, he wrote, "The Federal Bureau of Investigation must remain independent from political influence. Recent events have made it clear that this independence has been compromised." The Trump administration tried to spin Wray's resignation as a voluntary retirement, but internal White House sources told a different story. Trump had been furious that his FBI director had been destroyed by a socialist mayor on live television. The president reportedly screamed at his staff, "How did a 39-year-old kid make the FBI look like amateurs?" The answer was simple. Zohran Mamdani had done something that most politicians never dare to do. He had prepared for the fight. While Trump was tweeting threats and making phone calls, Mamdani's team was collecting evidence. While the FBI was planning intimidation tactics, the mayor was setting up cameras and preparing transcripts. When federal power met local preparation, preparation won. The investigation into Trump Organization's tax evasion continued, now with federal backing. By the end of March, the total amount owed could reach $200 million when state and federal taxes are included. Trump's legal team was scrambling to negotiate payment plans and avoid criminal charges. But the real victory wasn't financial. It was constitutional. Zohran Mamdani had proven that local officials could stand up to federal intimidation when they had facts, cameras, and courage. He had shown that transparency was the best defense against authoritarianism. Most importantly, he had demonstrated that preparation beats power every single time. As Mamdani said in his press conference that evening, "Today, we learned something important about American democracy. When the powerful try to weaponize government agencies against their critics, sunlight is the best disinfectant. Truth is the best defense. And preparation is the best protection." The mayor smiled at the cameras one final time. Mr. Trump learned today that New York City doesn't scare easily. And the FBI learned that when you come for the mayor, you better come with actual crimes, not just political orders. That 73-second confrontation changed everything. It marked the moment when Donald Trump's intimidation tactics finally met their match in a 39-year-old mayor who understood that in American democracy, facts beat fear every single time. And somewhere in Trump Tower, a former president was learning the hard way that threatening New York City was the biggest mistake of his political career.